was like 14 years old, I watched this movie on Netflix called Opal, and nobody has ever seen it. Nobody knows what I'm talking about when I ask them, have you seen the movie Opal? They go, what? And I go, you know, like The Rock. From what I remember, it was a movie about this like 10-year-old girl and her brother. And anyways, the girl had this imaginary friend called Opal, who she was like convinced was real and like an actual like ghost or person or something. And it would piss her family off, but they just like went along with it because I think they were like broke or something, or they were going through like the Dust Bowl or something. Like there was some kind of like economic struggle in the town. I think they were going through a drought even, to the point where it was like, yeah, this is the least of our concerns. Like we need to make money, and if this is how she's coping, this is how she's coping. Anyways, and the big reveal at the end of the movie was that like Opal was real, or like existed, or like could like affect reality in some way. And I think someone died. The girl died, maybe. I don't know, and I don't remember, but I do remember the way that movie made me feel. And after it ended, it was kind of those like, it was one of those movies where you watch it and then the rest of your day is ruined. Like you're just uncomfortable and on edge, and you just feel weird and kind of icky, and then you have to like immediately watch something else to like cleanse your mind of it. And the only way I could like really get through is I made my friend at the time also watch it, and she watched it and she was like, yeah, no, that was weird. Like that felt weird. So for the first time since I've seen that movie, I'm gonna be looking it up. Okay, it's bringing up a short from 2020. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about that claymation. It was on Netflix. Is it Opal Dream? Released in 2006? That's sounding a little bit closer. 8-year-old Kelly Ann is unhappily deluded, spending her days with invisible friends, but when her imaginary pals vanish, Kelly Ann becomes ill. Okay, that sounds more like what it is, but it's not currently available to watch in my country. They're gatekeeping the fuck out of this movie. They do not want anybody to watch this who's not in Australia. It's a 2006 Australian drama, also known as Pobby and Dingan. That's like not anything close to Opal. Okay, this looks like what it is. Okay, a young Australian girl living in a small rural mining town prefers the company of her two imaginary friends, Pobby and Dingan, to real children. She ends up looking awkward during social gatherings, and her only tangible friend is her older brother, Ashmole, who finds Pobby and Dingan annoying and often makes fun of them because he's embarrassed of his sister's behavior. Kelly Ann's and Ashmole's father is an opal miner trying to earn a living, and their mother is busy trying to fit in as a member of the community. Both parents agree that it's time for Kelly Ann to move on and leave her fantasy world behind, but when they force her to grow up too fast with a hasty decision, Pobby and Dingan are killed, and Kelly Ann falls into a grief-stricken illness. The only one who can set things right is Ashmole. What the hell? Oh my god. So this was all based off of a like mining town in southern Australia, and in the end credits it says filmed on location in Cooper Pedy and Adelaide, South Australia. And the spelling of the opal mining town is incorrect, and it should have said Coober instead of Cooper. That's funny. And real drawings of children's imaginary friends were featured during the end credits. A lot of Opal shows up on the Tip of My Tongue subreddit, which I think is like where people go when they can't quite remember the name of whatever media. Oh my god, so in the original release, they didn't air the main character, the little girl Kelly Ann, they didn't air her death, but when the full movie was released, they released it uncut. So imagine like seeing that movie for the first time and thinking it like ended happily, and then being like, damn, I want to show that to somebody else. And you're like, I want to watch this movie with you, and it doesn't have a sad character death. And then you get to the end and there's this unseen footage of the main character dying. People are also talking about this other movie about these like people who lived underground that kind of had to do with like opal miners, and I don't think these are the same movies. Is this all the same movie? Are all the Opal movies about this movie? And they just have a bunch of different plot points that we don't really remember? Yeah, Tip of My Tongue, movie from the 2000s, movie about Opal. I remember watching parts of this film in a bus, and it was about some kids, I think, finding opal in a desert and it being taken away / stolen or something like that. They were probably taken advantage of at some point. I don't remember in what way. I was a kid when I saw it, so it must have been 2005 to 2012. Guess the film would have been from a few years prior, since they instantly show them on buses. I remember the aesthetic to be a dry desert or some poor region. Don't remember any actors particularly. So someone suggested Opal Dream. I'm going to be honest, I think OP is talking about holes. I think they're talking about holes. So it doesn't seem like this was like a critically acclaimed movie. So I'm super curious if anyone else has ever seen this movie before, and if it also left them a weird, haunting feeling after watching it. I think maybe it's the fact that I was a kid who heavily daydreamed and like had imaginary friends. I had OCs before OCs were a thing, so I was kind of freaked out to watch this movie and be like, and if your imaginary friends die, so do you. Like, that was kind of terrifying to think about. Anyways, case closed, problem solved. We can all move on with our lives now. I can rest easy tonight knowing that that wasn't a fever dream and it was an actual movie.